Greetings Internet, DDA here, and I'm feeling a little crazy today. Welcome to week 17 of my card of the week. My scouters were set off by your suggestions, Internet, so for this week for Namekian style, I chose Namekian Backhand. Banish after use. Physical attack. Damage 3 stages. Damage from this attack cannot be redirected or prevented. This attack stays in play to be used a second and third time this combat. This card's damage potential is through the roof. 3 times 3 is 9, so this single card is going to allow you to do 9 total damage for no cost. 9 stages is almost knocking your opponent completely to 0. That's a ton of damage. In fact, I don't think there's very many cards that rival this card in terms of total damage. Namekian in general has pretty low base damage attacks. A lot of its energies are only doing 3 life cards, and a lot of its physicals are only doing +2 or +3 damage. This card stands a hill above the rest. Although this card doesn't have a cost in stages, or life cards, or some other condition that has to be met, it does have a sort of pseudo cost, and that's time. This card takes a lot of time to use. It takes 3 phases in combat. And this can both be a good thing and a bad thing. Being flat damage is going to mean that you're going to want to use this early in combat. You're going to want to play this card early so that you can knock your opponent's MP to 0 and increase the damage of anything in your hand that modifies off the AT chart. The problem is that while you're doing that, who knows what your opponent is doing? You're giving your opponent 3 phases to be able to set up, combo, or otherwise do whatever the hell he wants to disrupt what you're doing. While taking several phases away from you is usually bad, it can actually help you out. If you want to stall the combat for a little bit to see what cards your opponent is going to play from his hand, or see what effects he's going to activate or bring to the field, then you can use this card and save a counter that you may have in your hand for later in combat. Another thing to consider for your damage per cost is that your opponent isn't really going to want to block this card. It's only 3 damage, and this attack is split up into 3 different physicals. Your opponent is only saving 3 damage if he would block this. That means usually you're going to be able to get the full 9 damage out of this card. So for these reasons, I'm going to give this card a 4.5 out of 5 for damage per cost. The only real cost this card has is time, and that's not always a bad thing. Aside from that, this card's damage is the highest that Namekian has to offer. Next up for effect, this attack has a lot of text that really hit home when it comes to physical attacks. This damage can't be redirected, and this can really foil your opponent's plans if he's not expecting it. 3 damage is kind of minuscule, and it would be easy for your opponent to just redirect this damage to an ally with 1 or even 0 stages and just take the straight life cards. He could save all those stages on his MP. This card is really going to put the pressure on the opponent. He's going to be slowly losing stages on his MP. That means he better hurry up and activate his power, use those energy attacks in his hand, or play the physical attacks to get the most damage out that he can. This attack is unaffected by endurance or any other prevention effects. This is really a slap to your opponent's face. The last effect on this card is that it stays on play to be used 2 more times. This means this card is going to triple dip in all the modifiers that you have effective and on the field. This can be a double-edged sword because not only are your modifiers affecting it 3 times, but your opponent's is as well. Your opponent having control of Dragon Ball Z can almost negate this entire attack. So for these reasons, I'm going to give this card a 5 out of 5 for effect. There's really no question here that every other attack in the game wish it could have this card's effect. Staying in play to be used 2 more times, as well as honing into your opponent's MP to do true damage to him, can't get better than that. And finally, for combo potential, there are a few cards in the Namekian style right now that are really going to help out this card. It's always good when your attacks line up with your personality power set. If you have attacks in your deck that really supplement your MP's powers, your deck is off to a great start in terms of synergy. Both Nail and Gohan have 2 levels that really benefit from this card's use. Nail's level 2 means that even if they stopped all your attacks, you're going to be milling at least 6 cards with this 1 attack. Nail's level 3 turns this docile creature into a beast of an attack. 6, 6, 6. Gohan, on the other hand, would really love drawing this card on level 2. That +2 damage mod, in tandem with this being unpreventable, 5 damage means activating his rejuvenation ability and gaining an anger. Did somebody say don't play this card because it doesn't gain anger? Play Gohan. Namekian also does have 2 cards that really support this by creating modifiers for your physical attacks. Namekian Lift can bounce a Dragon Ball from play into your hand to give all your other physicals +1 damage. It may not seem like a lot by itself, But if you perform 4 or 5 physicals, that's 4 or 5 extra damage that you're doing to your opponent. That's a critical damage effect. Just bounce a Dragon Ball into your hand with Namekian Lift? Well, why not create an ultimate combo by discarding it with Namekian Self-Training? Luck will be on your side with 777s from this card. A big problem this card has in terms of combo potential, and probably one of the main reasons why you're not seeing this card played in many Namekian decks right now, is the cards that really help it out, that make you want to play Namekian Backhand, are really narrow in scope. It's a really very specific deck that's going to want to play this card, and it's going to be a deck with either Gohan or Nail MP. Piccolo really isn't going to get a big use out of this card. He's a Namek with a relatively high base, so flat damage really isn't the best thing for him. Both Namekian Lift and Namekian Self-Training involves some Dragon Ball manipulation. You're going to want to play a few Dragon Balls in your deck to really make use of those cards. All of these things mean a lot of work going into making just this one card work well. Is it worth it? I'm sure if you manage to hit a Namekian Lift or a Namekian Self-Training in combat with this card in your hand, you'll be able to see the power of this card. It's only going to get better over time, as Namekian and decks in general get more modifiers that they're going to be activating. So for these reasons, I'm going to give this card a 3.5 out of 5 for combo potential. 2 out of the 3 Namekian personalities right now love this card. At least some iterations of decks with those MPs. However, it just so happens that the strongest and most popular Namekian, Piccolo, really doesn't like this card. Go figure, he's on the card. Adding up the scores gives this card a total of 13 out of 15. A really strong card. This card is the only triple physical in the game, and there are no requirements to play it. You draw it in your hand, you have a triple physical, and that's very important. So yeah, right now people are really gung-ho about NPPV Namekian, but once Beats Namekian, specifically physical Beat Namekian, becomes a thing, this card is going to be a keystone in that deck. So I hope you enjoyed week 16 of my card of the week. Next week is Orange Style, so if you have an idea what Orange Style card I should review, please comment in the comment section below. Please don't hesitate to hit that like button if you like this video, and as always, turn your dial to Random Number Gaming for weekly updates for the Dragon Ball Z card game.